Bambi's twisted tales, fun and fancy-free, the strings of midnight. The blackout night was quiet except for the mansion up on the hill, lit up like a carnival when the rest of the world was dark. Windows glowed, phonographs spun, shadows jittered like junkies. Same goddamn record on repeat, fun and fancy-free. Inside, the table stretched on forever, piled high with food that never spoiled, wine that never emptied. The guests were stuck in masks, grinning through broken teeth, laughing like they'd been at it 100 years. At the head of the table sat a cricket in a top hat, smooth talker, smiling too wide. Only he wasn't no bug, not really. His shadow bent wrong, growing horns, twitching like a rat's tail. He called himself Jiminy, and when he tapped the glass, the whole house listened. "Settle in, folks," he said, voice like oil on wood. "Tonight's entertainment, a couple of stories." The phonograph needle hissed and his shadow stretched long on the wall. The first tale was about Bongo, a circus bear, shackled, beaten, forced to smile for the crowd. One night the chains whispered, "Break," and he did. Tore the ringmaster open, blood spraying the sawdust. He fled into the pines, met a she-bear with eyes too soft, Lulu-Bell, who kissed his scars and gave him berries. For a moment he thought he found peace, but the forest ain't got no patience for peace. Brutus, a monster of a bear, challenged him, fists pounding earth like thunder. They fought while the forest chanted, and Bongo crushed him. Lulu-Bell's eyes turned from love to fear. That night the trees closed in, roots crawled his legs, branches moaned, and when he screamed her name, the woods laughed. He blinked and he was back in the cage, bars made of bones, audience made of his own faces, clapping. Jiminy clapped too, slow, mocking. His shadow clapped louder, claws scratching the walls. Lovely, ain't it? Sweet as honey, bitter as ash. He tipped his hat, voice bright. "Don't like tragedy? Then how about a fairy tale? You like giants?" The next story, 3 broke bastards, Mickey, Donald, Goofy, fighting over scraps. One bean left, planted by accident, growing into a stalk that tore the sky open. They climbed into the clouds and found a castle hanging above the world, halls echoing, tables full of food. They stuffed themselves like pigs, not noticing the shadows watching. Then came Willie, the giant, baby-faced, lantern eyes, butcher's hands. His voice rolled like a funeral bell. Fee, fee, foe. They ran through endless halls, doors slamming, shadows stretching. Willie didn't chase, he strolled, humming. They made it back to the stalk, slid down like rats on a rope. Mickey hacked the vines, sap spurting like green blood, and Willie fell screaming into the earth. The villagers cheered, lit torches, sang victory songs. But that night lullabies floated on the wind, babies gone from cribs, goats hanging from rafters, chickens bursting in coops. Mickey sat by the ashes of the stalk, knife in his lap, eyes wide. He knew giants don't die. They wait. Back in the mansion, Jiminy sipped wine, laughing. 2 tails, 1 coin, love that kills, hunger that eats. Ain't stories sweet? The guests glanced at the windows. The glass trembled. Something outside was breathing. Then puppets dropped from the ceiling, marionettes shaped like the guests themselves, jerking on invisible strings. Real wrists split open, string threading through flesh. They danced while their wooden doubles mocked them. The banquet reset. Plates filled with horrors, rings in bread, baby shoes in stew, helmets floating in broth. Jiminy dug in, his shadow chomping faster, licking the table clean. Then came the knock. Boom, boom, boom. The mansion shook, a red eye pressed to the window, filling the glass. Willie, peering in like the house was a doll's toy. Fee, fee, foe. Jiminy stood, tipped his hat. Truth is, folks, I ain't no cricket. Never was. I'm wood, brass, gears, and lies. I'm the host. You're the entertainment. Brooklyn breathes through shadows. You can hear it in the subway tracks, smell it in the steam rising off the manholes. And standing in the middle of all that weight, Nick Palermo. He wasn't born into an easy name. His father, Frankie Palermo, left behind more enemies than friends, more blood on the sidewalk than ink in the ledger. When Frankie got clipped, Nick learned quick. Brooklyn don't give you mercy, it gives you tests. And every day since, he's been proven he ain't the type to fold. Nick ain't a loudmouth. He's the quiet storm. The one who listens, calculates, then moves when it hurts the most. With his godfather, Goku D'Angelo, whispering wisdom, and his sister Bambi tied to him by blood and fire, Nick's motivation is simple. Keep the family alive, keep the legacy strong. But loyalty, it cuts both ways. And betrayal, it's the tax every Palermo's got to pay. You'll see him out there in the Pine Barrens, shovel in hand, doing what needs to be done when the world's eyes ain't watching. You'll see him sitting in back rooms, staring across the table, deciding who lives and who disappears. Nick Palermo's got the kind of weight you don't measure in muscle, you measure it in resolve. And now, the streets are heating up again. Deals are being cut, alliances tested, and ghosts from the past are crawling back into the light. Brooklyn bloodlines, family is forever, and Palermo, that name don't die easy. Season 2 coming soon. His jaw split wide, hinges groaning, a clockwork heart ticking behind his ribs. His shadow grew horns, pinning the guests to the walls. Strings ripped wrists open, ankles bled. Guests danced like marionettes, blood drip, drip, dripping onto the floor. The phonograph needle dug deeper, scratching. Fun and fancy-free. Fun and fancy-free. The roof split. Willie tore the house open like paper. Guests screamed, strings yanking them into his hands. He popped them in his mouth, chewing, humming that lullaby. Jiminy applauded, shadow cackling. And then, on the banquet table, Paul's picture book appeared. Pages flipping on their own, showing the mansion in flames, a brass bed glowing in the fire. The knob spun on the page. Jiminy hissed, "No, not you." The walls cracked, fire roared. Puppets tangled, guests screeched, Willie bellowed, tumbling into fog. Jiminy's wooden frame cracked, gears sparking, his shadow tearing loose, vanishing into smoke. The mansion burned, collapse echoing. The last sound, the phonograph spinning, needles stuck. Fun and fancy-free. Fun and fancy-free. Years later, some poor schmuck digs a record out of the ruins. Spins it. That night, kids vanish from town. On the hissing groove, a tiny voice chirps, "Hello, folks." The moral of the story. Stories ain't fucking harmless. Every fairy tale's a contract, every song a leash. You laugh too long at the wrong party, you'll be the puppet dangling for somebody else's amusement. And that paisane is another one from Bambi's Twisted Tales. Hit subscribe, smash that bell, and join the Pizzaverse, where the only strings we pull are the ones we cut ourselves. Thanks for watching and supporting.